Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D Show. I am your host, Bob Waltenspiel. Hanging out, as always, with producer extraordinaire, co-host Randy Walker. Guest this week, Mel Kolinski. You might know her as the co-moderator of the Alliance of Channel Women Minnesota chapter. You might know her as an award-winning speaker. We're going to dive into that to find out who the hell gave her that award. And she's also the director of channel development at Ostra cybersecurity. Mel Kolinski is in the house. You can find us online, itinthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials, subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold. Don't forget, check us out, meetup.com/itinthed. We were meetup last week. We got a new place, Scout Ferndale, which is the old Embrew. We were joined by the Low-Key Data Meetup and also Scrum Detroit. So shout out to the peeps that came to our event for the first time. It was great having you. And then they have some events as well. We'll be cross-posting them on our site. But check us out, meetup.com/itinthed. November 21st is the next meetup in Scout Ferndale. We'll be there for probably 6 months or so, then moving over to the Detroit shipping company. So Mel, go ahead.
Just like I remember that place.
It is.
Back when it was Embrew. Yeah.
They painted it, and but it was, fantastic venue. If you haven't been there, probably one of my favorites that we've ever done meetup. So really excited to be back there and excited that the Bobcat Bonnie's folks bought it. So Mel, how are they treating you? You doing good?
Doing great. It's Monday night, hanging out with you guys, and happy to be here. So,
my God, we used to call this Monday Night Meat Sticks because back in the original days of this podcast, someone was in charge of snacks, and someone was in charge of studio fees, and then someone was in charge of the beer. And the snacks was, because this is great for podcasting, it was popcorn, Better Made popcorn, and it was Slim Jims, and it was Pabst in the can. So like we would sit here and snap off beer cans. Great for audio.
I would say poor Randy and all the editing, like all the meat stick and the popcorn and
There was no editing. We went raw form, zero editing. Yeah, we were. And it was like 2 hours long. It was, we'd have to take breaks because one of the hosts with us had to smoke. So like we literally had to cut every 20 minutes for a 10-minute break. It was arduous.
That was rough, but yeah, glad I didn't have to edit that.
No. So talk to me, the Alliance of Channel Women. Did you guys are like, I'm sick of, all you idiot guys, like we need to, like, we're banding together and creating a little team, and we're going to kick you in the mouth and then start our own little chapter. What's just kidding, obviously. But obviously,
contrary to popular belief, we don't hate men. I'll
I didn't
start
think
there.
you did. I didn't think. No, I would never think that you did. But putting up with us, I can understand being a little jaded and cynical. That I wouldn't ever. We're all a bunch of idiots. Everything's fueled by beer and the fear of missing our number. And meat sticks and the fear in the black cloud, which is our quota. But talk to me how you started getting involved in that. I'd love to dive in deep and talk more about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate the opportunity to share. So I started in this industry almost 2 years ago, and the first thing I did was find a networking group that I felt like I could learn a lot from. So being completely new to an industry, you just want to dive in and find your people and figure it out with them. So I joined ACW about a month after I started my job and started volunteering with a couple of their committees and meeting women from across the country. So a few things that we do in addition to hosting events at a couple of the larger MSP shows is we have mentor groups. So we have women who sign up to be mentors to other women in the industry to help them, pave their way within their career. We do a lot of different events and things like that to help promote women in our industry. I think when you are in a space where maybe you're discounted for your gender, maybe you aren't necessarily heard the same way as your male counterpart, or paid the same way, or given some of the same opportunities, that can get frustrating. And when you can find a group of other people who are going through a similar thing and think through together how you can improve that instead of just feeling sorry for yourself, it really improves not only your mindset around the problem, but also how you go about solving it. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is male allyship. So I've actually hosted a couple of these events. We did one in Minnesota. We did one actually in Detroit not too long ago. And we had a panel of a couple of different women and their male allies and talked about, some of the challenges that the women faced in their role, but then how having a strong ally support you and stand next to you throughout all of that made such a difference in our careers. So being able to have those kinds of conversations instead of pity party complaining about whatever might be happening, I think really elevates your situation and helps you get through it in a different way. So
No question.
that's
See,
a
I
lot of
remember
what
when
it,
I first got
yeah.
introduced to it. I've been in the channel ish since like 2005 or six. Got my first job at HP. Um,
Okay.
And I remember going to Vegas and it was 20,000 people. And my joke was
Hmm.
it's 18,000 40-year-old white guys with navy blue sport coats and tan pants and brown shoes, and 1,000 women and 1,000 people of color. And
Hmm.
and that was back before anybody really talked about it. But I'm looking at this crowd going, oh my God, like it's so. Then I went to Cisco and it was literally the same thing. And it's
Yeah.
interesting now as my career is, I'm in management consulting now, and I think our number is 51% women, 49% men that are like out of a pretty good size office. So it's fun. I don't know if it's got anything to do with like management, like strategy in the consulting side versus the product sales. And because I know MSPs is probably 98% men that look like Tom Lawrence. Shout out to Tom Lawrence from Lawrence Systems. Um, but like, I'd assume that MSPs is almost completely opposite, where there's hardly probably any women in there.
Yeah. When we go to some of these MSP shows or when you go to meet with an MSP, I mean, it's the same kind of idea. I was at an event not too long ago where the only other women in the room were the women from the marketing company that organized the event and the bartenders. So it can get uncomfortable. And I've definitely been in situations where really inappropriate things have been said and done. And again, it's just having those people around you that will have your back and talk back on your behalf when it's not always comfortable. So it's good to recognize it, but it's also good to surround yourself with people who see it and who aren't gonna just sit by and listen. So
So, like I have three daughters, two of them are in college, and I keep trying to say, I go, if you are like, thank God they don't look like me, but they talk and act like me. And I'm like, you guys don't realize the power you could have if just sitting in front of a room and knowing what you're talking about, just being in the data
yeah,
center space or in cybersecurity or anything for that, pick one.
anything tech.
Right. And they're just like completely like, nah, I'm good. I don't like, that's not for me. And I'm like, I try, and is that a thing like that's more widespread? Because I thought for sure my oldest is a nerd, so I'm like for sure she's going to get into, and I got her into Python coding as a freshman in high school. You know what I mean? Like surrounded her with
Heck
all of
yeah.
it. And then by the end of the day, she's
Yeah.
like, nope, I want to take care of animals. I'm like, that's admirable. All right, let's go.
Hmm.
But I mean,
Yeah,
that was the
those are
thing. This has
lucky
been
animals.
right, right. But this has been near to us for a long time. We've always had like this has been a hot topic for our show, for IT and the D. Like how do and it just seems like we're almost back to the same conversation. It's like what I guess from what you've
Yeah.
seen, what have we learned, or what can is there anything anyone can do, or is it just like my daughter going, nope, want to take care of animals, like that's it?
Yeah, no, I feel that. So I think a couple of things. I just got excited. I don't know if you could tell, like, "Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah."
yeah, let's go.
So I think for my generation, it was that we didn't really see women in those roles. So it didn't really seem like a role we could have. There's nobody there to show you, yes, you could totally do this. Here, look, I'm doing it. I am a woman. I've done this. Today, it's a little bit better. Like you mentioned, it's probably 98% in MSP or men and this and that, but there are some women. We have quite a few on our team, and I think we're seeing more of that. But I have to give some credit locally. I'm sure you've probably participated with and seen plenty of events from the MCWT,
Yep.
um, and they do summer camps for girls. They do all kinds of like classes and outreach and community support. And those are the kinds of programs that we have to help volunteer for and help pour money into, because reaching these young women before they're going off to college, and like to your point, you're teaching her Python, and that's amazing. It's probably because you're her dad that it didn't stick, right? Like, but those are the kinds of things that we should be doing for girls and for young women, as early as, like, elementary school. Like, those programs should be available and encouraged, and that's a thing that they're doing, and they're supporting it, and they're hosting these great programs for younger girls. So I think that's a big step in the right direction. We just need more of that everywhere.
She just thought, like, what does dad do for a living? Oh, he goes on meetings and he picks up the phone and asks, do you want to buy some stuff? I'm like, so like that seemed, and I'm like, geez, that's
Yeah.
what I've been relegated to. I go on meetings. Like I'm on Zoom calls all day. Um, and I think a lot of it was the rap where like, oh yeah, girls go into marketing. Um, girls are the channel manager and you're going to sit there,
Hmm.
but tell me about cybersecurity. And you're like, well, I don't really know. I just know that, here, here's our product. So I think that barrier has been brought down a lot, because I know like the people like the girls that I work, some of the women that I work with, they're run circles around some of the guys. Like, I think that tech barrier has been dropped a lot, where like, they're not being pushed into these, I don't want to call them like, paper roles, but they kind of are. We're being an actual practitioner.
Hmm.
Like, and then I talk to other people, like you, and then I feel like the wall's up again. You know what I mean? So like it's kind of bizarre, like this, you think it's
Yeah.
done and then it's totally back where it was.
Listen, have we made progress in the last 10, 15 years? Absolutely. We've made progress. Do we still have a ways to go? We sure do. And I think it's okay to acknowledge both. It's our reality. And if we think the work is done and it's not, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. So I think it's okay to say both. Like, things have come a long way. Things are different. My daughter has more access to these types of programs within her education path. She's 11. She goes to this really cool magnet school here in Michigan, where they're on this particular path based on their academic scores and whatever, and they have access, and that's amazing for this special group of kids. But we need to make sure we have that everywhere. And as we've talked about, like, there are these extra programs being put on by volunteer organizations and things like that, and we just need to keep pushing and keep making it accessible for everybody.
I think, and here's the thing too, it's a matter of, because there's a lot of guys I've even talked to that are like, there's Coursera courses right now from Harvard and from like U of
Mhm.
M, and I'm like, and they're out of work, and I'm sitting there like, why aren't you taking that and having this? It's an actual marketable certificate. And I think right
Mhm.
now we're almost at a point where there's, I don't want to say too much, but there's so much educational possibilities out there, but I don't know if people understand the parlay to a career in it, if that makes sense.
That could be.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
you could study every day for the entire year and have come
Mhm.
out with 50 certs, but you don't know really where. And I think that was, we always tried to, I always had this dream. We tried to launch, it's called Career Academy,
Mhm.
or we tried to chunk up IT into like 12 different kind of subsets: cyber, networking, server, coding, right? And then here you start here, and then as your career progresses, this is where you go. And I feel like it still should, it almost still should be a thing. Like, I don't think anyone realizes like the career possibilities. And that's like, I was trying to, going back to my daughter, but like, this is practical, where like, did you even know what this that you can be or do? And they're like, no. And I'm trying to explain all these different jobs, and it's just like, it's almost like glossed over. Like, I don't even know what that means.
But puppies. I mean, I
Yeah.
get it.
To take your daughter to work day, and it's like, well, what do you do? Like, if you listen to consultants speak, then you're like even more jaded. Let me put a pin in it, let's circle back, let me read this back to you. And you hear like the same, like these buzzwords, you know what I mean? And you're like, that's all you guys talk about? Like, no, it's deeper than that. And um so what are some of the things you
Yeah.
guys are trying to, with Alliance of Channel Women, what are you guys trying to, I don't say accomplish, but like, we talked about the education side, we talked about the networking side. Like, what are some of the other
Mhm.
things you guys are trying to put out there?
So we also have some like leadership development programs. So for people who are maybe starting new in their career or have been in a certain role for a long time and are looking to move themselves up, and what does that look like, and how do I do that? Kind of back to your idea of you can be certified all day long, but if you don't know what the path looks like, then you don't know where to start. So we do offer some like leadership development programs. I mentioned the mentoring. So I actually sat in on one of the mentor circles last year, and it was great. Like it was a small group. There were 15 of us, and the woman who led it was incredibly inspiring and warm, and just like, I don't know, the epitome of what you would think of as like the greatest warm fuzzy you could think of in IT. Like it was just weird how cool she was. And then of course we have like a job assistant stuff and career coaching, and then we have local chapters. So I'm very active in the one here in Michigan, which is kind of what led me. My offices are in Minneapolis, and so I go back there like monthly, and I had reached out to see, well, is there a chapter? I'd love to meet those women. Like I'm there all the time. It would be cool to network. And so we have one member in all of Minnesota, so there's no chapter.
Yeah.
I said, cool. Well, how do I start one? so,
Right.
so I'm the chick from Detroit who started a Minneapolis chapter, and I co-moderate it with marketing director from my company, and we set up events. Some of them are we had a great like a cybersecurity brunch, and we brought in, I don't know, it was like 50 people who showed up, and we had myself and then a woman who works for an information security company, and we talked about real basic cybersecurity best practices, not even as related to your business but your home life, and how to protect your family and what to tell your kids, because our kids are adorable, but man, they're just like little doorways into all of our stuff, and if they don't understand how to keep those bad guys out, then they're a bigger problem than we think. But anyway, so we do stuff like that. We engage with our IT sisters, and we talk about all kinds of stuff, whether it's, I don't know, that was the best example I had, but we have an event coming up where we also have some philanthropy projects going. Our chapter specifically, we're doing a hardware drive for a group called PCs for People, and they take unwanted technology and they either repurpose it or ethically recycle it. And then they take those repurposed items and take them to underserved communities. So we're getting together next month in Minnesota to collect a bunch of old hardware and hang out. So
Love it. That's also near and dear. We still have JVS Human Services. I think they rebranded. I keep forgetting their name, but that was a big portion of what they did. I think. Yeah, sure. Thank you. You're good. I'm not. Um, but yeah, no, love that stuff. So we talked in before the show, and you said that your day job, you started a nonprofit, and I absolutely love what you guys are trying to accomplish, and it's called the Truth in Cyber. Um,
Mhm.
we got to get into this because this is I absolutely love what you guys are doing. I need to figure out how to get more involved.
So just to be clear, I didn't start it. I I worked for the guy who started it, but Mike Kennedy, he's the founder of Ostra cybersecurity, and it's a very passion based project for him. It's something that has been talked about for probably about a year and a half before it actually took shape and happened. But truthincyber.org is the website, and you can you go there and read the different ideas around how we got here and why. But the bottom line behind it is that there are just so many people out there, whether they are other vendors or IT providers, that are spreading mistruths, whether it's intentionally or due to a lack of knowledge around what they're saying, or due to the ridiculous number of acronyms that we use in this industry.
No.
Um, I know, I know. You threw it at me earlier, and I thought, God, I hadn't heard that one yet. But yeah, there's just so much.
CNAP?
There's
You never
just
heard
so much.
CNAP?
Yeah, no, no, I didn't know that one. Don't tell anybody.
That's totally fine because I didn't know what it was the first time I heard it either. That was recently.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, the thought is, if we can come together as a community of whether you're a vendor or a service provider or whatever your role is within our industry, a consultant, et cetera, and we approach our industry with the same four principles, then maybe we'll make it a safer space for everybody by working in honesty and truth and self-awareness, transparency. Honesty and truth are the same thing. So how about accountability? Those are our four. But
So give me
if
some
we all,
examples. I know you said you were,
yeah.
one of the things where like we're just talking random. And you're like, got in a fight in Vegas. I'm like, oh, we got to talk about that.
I
But it was
did.
around
Oh
this, wasn't it?
man. Yes. It was totally around this. I was with a group of women. We were out to dinner. It was after an ACW event, and I was with someone that I had just met, and she was asking me, what does your company do? So, like, because she asked, I gave her my elevator pitch, which I hate doing at dinner. It
Yeah.
feels so
Awful.
slimy, but she
Awful.
asked, so I did it. I know it's gross. And this other woman like kind of came over me and was like, "Oh, we all say the same thing. You're not saying anything new." Blah, blah, blah. Clearly, somebody had had a few cocktails.
Never
And
have.
I said, "Okay, all right. Well, like, help me out. Like, who does your remediation?" And she's like, "Oh, well, it depends on what you mean by remediation." And I was like, "Well, I mean the way Webster defines it, like to fix or repair something back to its original state. So who does
Right.
that for you?"
Right.
Oh, well, I mean, the MSPs do that. We just send them the directions on how to do it. And I said, well, then you're not remediating anything. Like, that's
Someone else's.
yeah, yeah. And so she tried to like argue with me a little bit further, and I just like very politely, I looked around because we were going to another party after that, and I said, "Oh, I got to go change my shoes. I'll see you guys at the next one." And I just slipped out, thanked the hostess, tried to contribute towards the bill, and I took off because I wasn't going to sit there and argue with somebody. But that's a piece of it. Like, it's not telling the truth and not speaking with integrity and trying to act like you're something that you're not. There's so much of that in this space, and I feel like as an end user, it has to be so confusing. I mean, I think about if I'm a business owner, particularly if I'm a small business owner, even, like I don't have 1,000 resources. We're not some huge company, but I've heard of cybersecurity and I understand like some of these big guys are getting hit, but I don't know how to approach it. And then you get some wackadoo with 100 acronyms and mistruths, and yeah, now you've just made it more confusing. And that hurts the rest of the industry when people act like that. It really it hurts us all. And at the end of the day, it's the end user who pays when that kind of thing happens.
Have you ever
One of the big
seen?
things that
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. I'll say then I'll stop. I'll put my soapbox away. But one of the things that like kind of really got all this put into motion. We were at a show and I don't remember who it was, but one of the vendors was talking about, like, well, where there's mystery, there's margin. So, you don't
Ew.
you don't have to really define cybersecurity. You just say it's for this. And like now you've added margin to your bill. And I'm thinking, this is what we're selling on? Like that's oh, okay. Like so
There's a
anyway.
very prominent company in Detroit. I will not name them. I will not even do the rhyme game that I always do. In their early days, they used to come into our data center and they said, "Bring us in, bring us in, bring us into your clients." And it's like, "Well, what do you do?" Well, we make sure all their stuff's secure. Well, what do you do? And they couldn't explain it. And I'm like, there's no way in God's green earth I'm ever going to get you near any one of my customers. They end up being a 9-figure company sold for God knows how. I'm like, somebody bought it. I'm like, God, it's because I'm looking back at that going, all you had to do was tell me what you did. And they were
Hmm.
so vague about it. And I'm like, I can't
Mm.
trust. We have CISOs on the show all the time. And I always love talking about the bad salespeople in the vendor matrix. And I'm like, how do you even, because I'm looking right now, um, anti-fraud and identity management, mobile security, predictive intelligence, behavioral analytics, automated security, cyber risk management, app security, IoT security, deception security. And that's like I could sit here and read for the next 15 minutes on the different, and each one of those has 15, 20 vendors that all do that. And I'm like, how do you make sense of all this noise and all these reps are calling you because you got that title? And now you're in that space. Like, how do you not be that bad person going, I read in the journal that you got breached yesterday, all the sharks come out. It's a very different,
The ambulance chasers.
yeah, like that's, but
Uh-huh.
there's so many vendors, there's so much noise. Like, what is there anything you could do other than saying, can I, and then everybody wants to POC. That's like the holy grail is if you can get my stuff into POC, you'll see that you'll be great now. I feel like this industry, I dare I say this industry needs an enema. But like it needs some clarity. It's a Batman
Yeah.
reference, Randy. Randy's giving me the
Yeah,
look.
I was here for it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. That was a good
89
moment.
Batman. I know I'm going old school. No, but
No, it was great.
just in the vendor space, just like bringing the truth, like in clarity into the vendor mate. Like what are you playing any part of like trying to bring enlightenment or like normalcy into the vendor world?
So I think this kind of so nicely, we didn't even talk about this, but this kind of tees up that whole my award-winning speech. We were at we go to quite a few of these. It's called ASCII. I'm sure you've heard of the ASCII Edge, but ASCII is a cool community for MSPs, and they host different events and stuff like that. And they do allow vendors to come in, but you have to give a talk that is based on, it has to be educational in some way. You cannot just get up there and talk about your company and pitch for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Good.
And you have to go through this whole process. Like they vet your deck and whatever. So I actually get up and talk about selling with, by building authentic relationships through trust and transparency. And it's a thing that we spend a lot of time talking to our strategic partners about, those that we go to market with on different things. But at the end of the day, I just, like anything else, like we talked about the Alliance of Channel Women earlier, all of it is about awareness and getting this message out to other people who maybe don't see it or feel it or understand it, or who want to turn a blind eye to it. But some of the things that we talk about are like the terrible cold calling, right? Like, oh my God, how many times, Bob, have you gotten like the LinkedIn request from somebody, and then like 30 seconds after you accept it, you've got some like gross spammy, hey, I saw you are like, to your point, you just recently got a round of funding. That means you need blah, 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 blah. And I'm here to sell it to you. And it's like, if you
I've
read
helped
my profile
companies
at
such
all.
as yours in their cybersecurity journey, implementing. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
Here's the thing. Like we had when you like Indian scams, like the fake text, then you're like, who the hell falls for that? And then you realize it's a $5 billion industry. Somebody
Right.
has to be buying from these people, otherwise they would never do it. Like I don't understand who's
Right.
clicking yes.
I don't know. It's never me. It's never me. And I totally, like, that's two slides in my deck where all of those terrible messages, maybe with the names bleeped out, but just like, this is how not to do it. And now let's talk about how to go about it, right? Like there is a good way to connect with somebody on LinkedIn that you haven't met before that you want to do business with, but you have to start way softer than that and talk about maybe some common interests or comment on an article that they reposted or something way less aggressive than act now, buy my stuff, take my
See,
services,
I knew you were my people because I've been writing a blog called "Don't Be That Guy" for 15 years about
Oh,
all
I
the
like that.
bad, all the horrible people we meet in this industry, and we never call them out by name. I think I've only done. Have I ever done it once, Randy? I think we like 3 times. Then we call you out by name. I don't think we ever did it. Like, yeah, maybe once. But it was all about like, what do you do? Like, I can't, like, I met this person last night and you were like creepy on people. Like, why did you, or got like drunk at an event and, but we used to always like, there was always one at every event. And it's funny because you like, after 10 years of writing it, we don't have anyone bad at our events anymore. It's kind of weird how that all works. Cause when you read about yourself tomorrow in the paper, it's
Yeah.
now we trash them on the podcast. So it's a little bit different.
I mean,
But
that's more fun.
here's the thing. Here's the thing I don't think people understand. Like, very few times I've reached out or I've been receptive to a really cold, someone, that doesn't say like, hey, I work with a vendor partner that you're aligned with and we want to tackle Ford together. I'll take, that's easy, that one. But like one time it was this girl and she goes, I listened. It wasn't a cut and paste job either. Cause she goes, I absolutely, she started saying, I absolutely loved your TED talk. The one part about this and that. And then she said, and I, that got me intrigued. So I dove into this stuff and I found I think my blog or whatever it is. And she goes, we need to have a cup of coffee. Like didn't say a word about what she sells. And to be quite frank, I didn't, if you, feed my ego that much, I'm going to be like, yeah, let's go. I'll have a cup of coffee with you. You sound awesome for one, for two, like, why wouldn't I? Like, what I mean? And she wasn't selling anything either. She was
So
like,
if
hey,
you're buying.
no, but then it all came out. She's like, listen, I work for this company. I don't know if it's a fit or not. We're not even here to talk about that right now. Right now, I just, and that's how you network. You don't walk it. Like we had a guy walk. I always make fun of him because he was a grown man and he kept going on and on about agentless browser plugin something block something at the event at Urban Rest, Randy. And I kind of looked at him and I go, do people like say okay or like like what do you like? You don't even know my name and you're getting into like your features and benefits already. Like, who taught you this? Like,
So gross. Like, slow down. Like, get to know me a little bit. Yeah.
the problem is those guys make their numbers and they keep doing it. It's just nobody slaps them on the hand. It's just bad. So yeah, we have the same crusade. I don't know. I got to find a kitschy name. I'm going to start a nonprofit on quit sucking at sales. How not to suck at sales. I think that's a good book I could write.
There you go.
But hey, Mel, I can't thank you enough for the time. You've been awesome. You can find you
thank
on
you.
LinkedIn. We'll put your LinkedIn in show notes, Mel Kolinski. And then hopefully we'll see you around at some of our events. Make it out. We're in Ferndale third Thursday every month. But if there's anything going on your side, keep us posted too. Love to keep in touch with you.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much. It was great talking with you guys, and I will definitely be out to see you soon.
Awesome. Love it. Mel Kolinski, on behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.